Hello, my friends. This is Andy coming live from Orange County, California, actually in Brea, and with my love, Hedia. How are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. Good
Yeah. Do
afternoon.
you still have your barrette in your hair? I don't see it. I love that barrette. Oh, look at that. I love that. That's the first time a barrette's made an appearance on the show.
Why, thank you for noticing.
I love it. All right, go to livingfearlessdevotional.com. That's where you'll find the Apple Podcast version of our show. It's the audio version of this video that you're seeing right now. So if you miss a show, make sure you're subscribed there. That way you don't miss an episode if you're busy doing something else, jogging at the gym, whatever, and you can listen to it then. And then after you sign up with Apple Podcast and give it 5 stars and tell everybody how great God is in a thingamajigger. Why do I always forget what that's called? A review. Then you can watch or listen to it on any other platform that you want to. Just go find it on iHeart or Spotify or whatever. All right. So we're going to read this one. Oops, hold on. Sorry. I clicked on the wrong thing. All right, we're going to read this one, and we got to get into it. It's one of those that's I understand it, but I don't feel it. Is that a good? Is that? Thank you. All right, so let's get into it. Maybe those of you can comment. Please make sure you can comment at some point during the broadcast, as we just got one up right now. Who's there? Hey, Amy. Hey, Amy. I was just thinking we haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on?
I think that's also because you haven't been doing the evening show.
Well, she comes on during the day too, while she's training dogs and stuff like that. She does it. All right. So let's go ahead and get to the devotional, and then we'll talk about Amy a little bit more later. All right. So this is My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers for May 28th. And the title is Unquestioned Revelation. The reference is John 16:23. And it says, "In that day, you will ask me nothing." When is that day? It is when the ascended Lord makes you one with the Father. In that day, you will be one with the Father, just as Jesus is. And he said, "In that day, you will ask me nothing." Until the resurrection of life of Jesus is fully exhibited in you, you have questions about many things. Then after a while, you find that all your questions are gone. You don't seem to have any left to ask. You have come to the point of total reliance on the resurrection life of Jesus, which brings you into complete oneness with the purpose of God. Are you living that life now? If not, why aren't you? In that day, there may be any number of things still hidden to your understanding, but they will not come between your heart and God. In that day, you will ask me nothing. You will not need to ask, because you will be certain that God will reveal things in accordance with his will. The faith and peace of John 14:1 has become the real attitude of your heart, and there are no more questions to be asked. If anything is a mystery to you and is coming between you and God, never look for the explanation in your mind, but look for it in your spirit, your true inner nature. That is where the problem is. Once your inner spiritual nature is willing to submit to the life of Jesus, your understanding will be perfectly clear, and you will come to the place there where there is no distance between the Father and you, his child, because the Lord has made you one. In that day, you will ask me nothing. Let me go ahead and read John 14:1 right away, that way, because that's what he's referring to. And it says in John 14:1, says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God. Believe also in me." How about this time around, Hedia? Anything more? Oh, nice. I'm so happy.
So the second time, I feel like he's making a clear distinction between what you know, like we don't have all knowledge just by becoming one with Jesus. We're just not worried about the answers to questions, to the information we don't know. So what I'm struggling with is I feel very much in step with what God wants for my life, but curiosity makes me wonder what the next step is. So in the beginning, and I guess at different points in my life, there are questions looming that I ask him, like, okay, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? What do I do with this? Or why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And what's making me wonder about this devotional is, so when there's a certain peace and joy and the fullness of his resurrection is alive in us, do we stop having curiosity? Like that seems beyond comprehension to me, that we wouldn't have the curiosity of asking, where are we going? Not because we don't trust him, but just human nature.
Right.
So this is just one where I'm just not there yet.
I was starting to think, because I hear pastors talking about their walk with God and where they, how old they were when they were, new believers, and when they were born again and all that kind of stuff. And then I hear them talk now as pastors in front of us. You got Pastor Jack Hibbs with Calvary Chapel and Mark Driscoll with Trinity and the other ones we listen to. But I believe that I hear sometimes that they still are learning as they go. So I'm wondering if if they're not there, where they're not still asking questions, still asking God a question about his word, or learning new things about things that they're seeing in the Bible for the first time, even though some of them are doing it for 30, 40 years. How can I get there? I mean, is Oswald saying that in the year that I've been doing these devotionals, that now I'm ready, just like, I don't need to know anything more? Is that possible?
I think this goes back to, again, trust and contentment, and really laying your troubles or anxiety or concerns at the feet of Jesus. So it's not, again, that you know where you're going, but you're just not worried about it. Because he kind of makes the distinction that you don't, here he says, you don't need to ask, because you will be certain that God will reveal things in accordance with his will. So it's not that he's revealed everything all at once and you know exactly where you're going, but that you have confidence that you're on a need to know basis.
Oh. And
when you need to know, he'll tell you.
I want to know now. It's this waiting thing that I just, that's one of my worst human traits right now still. Because we have a lot of things that are kind of just lingering out there that, I know that we need to know. I know that people watching probably have that same thing. I sent you a private message in the chat too, if you want to look at that. And so that, I don't know. I still don't see how I could be there in that day comes where I no longer, I don't know. I just don't see how that's possible.
It's funny that you say that, because you must be very good at hiding it, because most of the time it looks like you're not asking any questions at all. When I ask you about something and you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It'll happen when it happens. And so I'm like, what? Like, you don't even want to know? Like, you don't even want to do a plan A, B, and C just in case? I mean, like, you seem like, yeah, whatever's. So I'm surprised that this is novel. This is a new concept to you, because you seem to be pretty chill about it. Me, on the other hand, I'm constantly asking when and how and but, like, just, I'm crazy curious.
Yeah, you are. But I don't know that both of us can be that way. I don't think both of us can be that way. Right? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not curious. It's just like it's funny you bring that up. I'm sorry that this is so confusing to those of you watching, but I am confused as I read this. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying. So I got this divorce thing lingering. Like, I can't get to the end And it's not that I'm not divorced. It says I can't get to the end of this thing. It just keeps going on and on. It's like we're in our 6th year. The case gets continued and continued and continued. And it has to do with property and some of those issues that are just like we cannot get done. We got stalled because of of school and getting my kids into public school, that kind of stuff. But it just gets continued. And I've tried everything. I've tried firing attorneys and hiring new attorneys. I've tried everything, and it just won't get done. So I know what I try not to do is let it destroy my day. I try. Sometimes it does. But I try not to let it get to me. So that's one example, but there's other things. So I'm trying to make sense of all this. So it's not that I'm happy with what's going on. I just don't, I tell myself, what good is it going to do for me to worry about it?
Well, that's biblical. So that's exactly what Oswald's saying. He's not saying that you're going to be rainbows and unicorns every day.
Okay.
He's just saying you're just not worried about it. So you're closer to it than most.
Yeah. But I think now, Danielle wrote on here, you both can't be that way at the same time. I'm not sure. Is that a laughing face?
Yes. It's a wink.
Yeah, because I think that maybe sometimes I help you through the times where you're like really struggling. I think, right?
Yes.
Maybe sometimes. And then on the few times that maybe I am showing you that I am struggling a little bit, you could then come around and you go, listen, let's pray about it. And you speak into me in a way that I need to hear. And so we just balance each other out. If both of us were like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? This stupidity, the stuff about a car, the stuff about, the move and the situations and things like that. If we are both kind of like on and struggling at the same time, then we wouldn't have each other to lean on those different times. Like we just we balance the ship. If we're, using a sailor's term, I guess, that we are able to keep it afloat because we are helping each other through the different times by being the other.
Yes.
The other side of things. Sorry, I was struggling for the words. And I was also reading what Amy was saying here. She says, oh, can you go ahead and read that? Because there's a lot.
Hetty, I think curiosity and eagerness to know what God has in store for us keeps us in his word and causes us to listen more closely and recognize when he speaks to us. Amen.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I do a lot of that, and I am on my knees constantly, and I do read constantly to hear from the Lord. So something that thank you, Amy, because something that Jack kept reminding us of the other day is ask God to see his glory. And so that's my new prayer every day is, God, I want to see your glory manifested in me and around me and in everything that's happening to me. I just want to see your glory. And it keeps me at his feet.
You know what? I kind of have this thing that when I go to church, I of course have no expectation, right? I go to listen to Jack, and then I'm just blown away about the stuff I learn. It's almost like Christmas every Wednesday night and Sunday. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got another gift.
Yes.
that I wasn't expecting. It's like this last Wednesday was spectacular. The stuff that we walked away with, the gifts that we had in our arms as we left that night. So I like a little bit of that, not worrying about, I hope he speaks to me tonight and I hope it helps me with my situation. There's so often that I go, let's just see what he has to say. And it comes out with some pretty cool stuff. So like Wednesday, I thought that was really cool for us because we didn't intend to go. It was the last minute, like, hey, let's go to church because we're being called to go to church.
I love it.
I want to, there's a couple things. There's a video of Mark Driscoll's message from it's a short little snippet. It's maybe about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I thought about it because I watched it earlier, and I thought about it in the sense of reading the Bible. I have two things I got to do better. I have to read the Bible more consistently and get through it, and I like what he talks about here. And I need to pray more often. This message from Oswald was that the only way I'm going to get to the point where I think he's saying here, where I feel comfortable, is that I need to be more in the Word. I need to pray more often. I think that will help me maybe feel this more, as opposed to, like I said, I know what he's saying. It's just I'm not feeling how it's even possible I can get there. So if you don't mind, I want to play this little snippet from Mark, and I would like to get your comment. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet or know what part I'm going to play yet, but I just want to play this little bit and to see if it speaks to you on any level in regard to this devotional or not. It may not. All right, here we go. Oh. You know what I'm thinking first? I have something first. I forgot that I started in the middle of the story. And so, because it would help, because I didn't want to play 5 minutes of the video. So what he's doing is he's talking about when he first started reading the Bible and thought that he was going to thought about becoming a pastor, and he had a mentor, and he had this book that he wanted to read that was it was a biblical book. I mean, it was a book, a Christian book that he wanted to read. And he went to his mentor and said, I want to read this book. What do you think? And I'm shortening the story. And his mentor takes the book and he says, read this. And he hands him back. He hands him back the Bible. He goes, no, but I want to read that book. And he goes, no, read the Bible. And so then he reads the Bible. He goes back to his mentor, and his mentor, he goes, okay, I read the Bible. Can I have my book? He says, no. And then he tells him to read, take each book of the Bible and spend 6 months studying that book. Once you read that book, then go to the next book and spend 6 months on that book. And that's kind of where we are at the story. So I know I needed to preface that before I showed this little clip. All right, here we go.
I said, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, here's your assignment. Pick a short book of the Bible, study it until you know it from heart, you've memorized verses. And he taught me how to study a book of the Bible. And he said, take some months and do that. He said, just think about it, son. He said, you're 19, 20, whatever I was. He said, there's 66 books in the Bible. Imagine if you took 6 months for every book of the Bible. He said, by the time you're in your 50s, you will have gone through the whole Bible. At the time, I thought, 50? That's so old. And now I'm like, it's not that bad. So I picked First John. I read the whole thing, and I actually loved it. I was way more excited about it than my classes. So I go to my pastor. I'm like, all right, buddy, Pastor Buddy, what now? He said, pick another book and do it again. I said, how long do you want me to do this for? He said, you do this till you die. So that's what I've been doing. I pick a book of the Bible and study it, teach it to you, pick another one. Okay? And you know what? It happened at the same time that I was in State University. What was State University trying to get me to do? Conform to the pattern of the world. But I'm being transformed by the Word of God. The Spirit of God will use the Word of God to transform the child of God. That's how this works. So in every class, I go to my sociology class. And they're like, we're all good and evolving. And I'm like, nope. I go to my gender class. They're like, there's a spectrum, boys and girls. Gender class was the worst 15 minutes of my life. I'm in my philosophy class, and they're like, all ideologies are just perspective. There is no truth. I was like, I met a guy who said he was the truth. Wrong. So in every class, the conforming pressure is there, but the transforming power is greater. See, let me tell you this, parents. I didn't say this in the earlier sermons, but the Holy Spirit brings it to mind. If you want to raise mindful Christians, you need to raise Christian children who are not naive but wise. Naive Christians don't know the difference. Wise Christians do. When our kids were little, I'll give you an analogy. It just comes to mind. We'd be watching shows. Sometimes, Nickelodeon, Disney, all that stuff that's just garbage-tastic, part of the brainwashing program. Okay? But what we would do is I would hit pause and we'd talk about it. Hey, what about that? And what I wanted them to do is to have mindful Christianity, for them to discern truth and error and wisdom and folly. My kids knew a lot, but they didn't do a lot because they knew what was right and wrong. Sometimes the only way to know right and wrong is to let them see what is wrong.
I'm surprised you show that clip, because that's not your philosophy at all.
Yeah, but it's so cool. I mean, there's so many things in that I want to break down, is because when I watched that earlier, and then when I read this devotional, what really threw me is that here he is. He goes, he's been told by his mentor that he's got to read the Bible until he dies. And so my mindset is that like you just have to continue to read because you're going to continue to find stuff and learn stuff, and he's going to continue to speak to you. But yet in this devotional, I got this different feeling that I no longer, at some point, I don't need to ask anymore. So to me, being a simple-minded dude that I am, I felt like I got two different messages. From Mark's message, it's that you never stop hearing from God. You never stop asking for answers, you never stop asking questions and looking for answers. And yet the devotional was saying at some point you stop asking. You see where I got confused?
Oh, it's so interesting because I didn't read the devotional, though he has not specified. I agree with you. I didn't read it as biblical knowledge. I thought Oswald was just saying you should have no questions about your fleshly, earthly concerns. He doesn't say which one he's talking about, but I could see how you read it that way, but I didn't read it that way at all. That he's just basically saying, Matthew, I think it's 23, do not worry about your life, what you will wear, what you should drink, or what you will put on. That once you have the fullness of Christ in you, you have nothing to worry about. I did not interpret it as being like you should not ask questions about knowledge. And so I don't know if he meant that. And again, I think, these are all teachers, and the only truth is in the Bible. So we can't take what Oswald says as gospel, no pun intended, but it is merely a perspective. So his perspective, at times I've noticed, is different than Pastor Jack's or Pastor Mark's, and I'm sure there's hundreds of others that would have a completely different understanding. That yes, you should, and I've actually heard pastors say you should constantly ask God questions. Mm-hmm. You should lay everything at His feet by asking Him questions. Ask and you shall, and the Lord's even said that you will not receive, you do not have because you do not ask. So there are verses that confirm that we should have childlike faith, which includes curiosity and asking questions. So I don't know. I don't think it's very clear that one, what topics Oswald was referring to, and two, if Oswald is the end all on the topic. Sure.
Any of you that are watching or even watching the replay, just type in the comments. I take things sometimes literally, and so and that's why I like to go to Hedia and bring in other perspectives, because you kind of like, oh, I didn't see it that way. I saw it this other way, and I go, oh, thank God, because I'm I'm taking it completely literal. So when he says here, in that way, you will ask me nothing. You will not need to ask, because you will be certain that God will reveal things in accordance with His will. And so how I read that
is nothing.
That you don't ask, and I just wait for Him to tell me or to show me.
But see, I don't think that means don't seek knowledge. That would be weird for Oswald to be implying don't seek knowledge. I think that would be weird. But he does say when the full resurrected Christ is manifested in you, you won't need to ask, meaning all of the knowledge of the Bible would be in us, because we are alive with the resurrected Christ. So maybe the reconciliation of these different opinions is that none of us are there, not even our pastors, not even people that have been 60 years a Christian, are living the full resurrection of Christ. Therefore, we continue to ask questions, seeking knowledge.
All right.
Maybe that's it. But I got to say that the methodology that Pastor Mark said is what the Lord did with me. So I've been lazy since then, but that's exactly what He wanted me to do. When I first got baptized, 1 month in, the Lord's like, take the book of the Bible, we're going to read. Started from Romans, went to Acts, and I was doing them page by page and taking notes. So that's a very familiar methodology to me. It just takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna try.
Well, and because you need references, because you'll realize when you read it, if you just want to read like the 365-day Bible and you read passages until you read the whole Bible, that's great. I loved doing that, but that's not like doing a book of the Bible and studying it. A book of the Bible requires you to get a commentary and some other resources. That's why I used Logos and studying that chapter, not just reading it.
Yeah. Well, or I could just rely on you. That's the easy thing to do.
And I mean, as I'll say, that's why I read Smith Wigglesworth's devotional at night, because he has much longer passages to read.
Yeah.
So it's usually like 15, 20 verses of each book before so he calls it scriptural reading, and you have to do the scriptural reading before you read the devotional.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I'll look forward to that once we get through this one. The other thing I was thinking, just as talking about, you were saying, well, we're talking about maybe the difference between men and women, or the difference between me and you, is that I don't ask at Home Depot either, right? I'm one of those guys that I will wander around the store until the Home Depot, God, little G, shows me where it's at. So that's kind of that's a little bit in my DNA to not ask and just kind of wander around for a little while until I run into it.
I think that's a male quality, right? The whole thing with maps and directions, and no, I want the shortest distance between A and B. So I'll just walk in, and the light bulbs will be right in front of me, and I'll be like, "Where are the light bulbs?"
I do kind of like the journey, though. That's probably why I don't walk out the one thing that I intended to get, because I end up wandering all these. Oh, wait a minute! I think I need one of those too. And the next thing you know, my grocery cart is full.
Yep.
So crazy. Let me, I wanted to ask Amy something just really quick. And I'm sorry, this is going to go off just a little bit, just for a sec. I just wanted her to answer the question. And Amy says she's been so busy with dogs, not the wrong one. Sorry. This one. And she's a dog trainer like me. That's how we probably know each other for the most part. And so what I did a show on the Falco Canine Academy, probably about 9 months ago, where I warned people during the pandemic, because a lot of people were getting dogs during the pandemic. Right? They were at home and they thought, well, I'll just get a dog and it'll be so cool and we'll fall in love and we'll have such fun. And the dog will keep me company at home since I'm stuck at home. And I was telling people, I said, be careful. You're going to get these dogs and then you're going to end up having to go to work, or you're going to have other things you're going to begin to do. You're going to get out more often you're going to go to places where you can't take your dogs. And now your dogs become a little bit of a burden. And now you're finding out things that you didn't know about yourself, that you maybe, need help with this dog that's now a little bit of a pain in the butt. And I'm wondering, Amy, is that kind of what is it? Do you think that's why you're so busy now? Is it that because of all the people that got dogs during the pandemic, now that they're out and about, they're finding out that they need a little bit of help with those dogs? Because I was telling people, I was telling dog trainers at the time, I said, you guys are going to be busy whenever people are free again, because they're going to be doing stuff outside of their home with their dogs and realizing my dog's out of control. My dog is crazy. And I wasn't quite sure. So if Amy's still on, if you wouldn't mind, just let me know if that's kind of what you see going on right now. Oh, yep. Every dog in North America is now suffering from separate. Yeah. Aww. That was the other thing. I talked about separation anxiety because the dog is so used to you being home. And now they're out. They're back at work maybe, or now they're out shopping where they weren't shopping before. And now the dog goes, hey, you were just home for like 8 months straight. Where are you going? Yeah. I don't know if Amy saw that episode that I did, and I was telling people, I know that people don't know me that much as a dog trainer these days, but I know a few things. Yes. I know things, but I was trying to tell people be careful with those dogs. I also wanted to share. Look what Rhett did today. He did because Memorial Day is on Monday. He drew a triangle flag. And on the back, I just want to read what it says on the back. Memorial Day is an American holiday observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Memorial Day 2021 will occur on Monday, May 31st. Originally known as Decoration Day, it originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observed Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that it used to be called Decoration Day. And no, it became an official holiday in 1971, before you were born, right? just a smile. There are a couple cemeteries around our area, Hedia, that you may not know about, but they spend a lot of time preparing, and I'm hoping they're going to do the same thing. They people come out and they have a flag for every grave that has a military, somebody who served in the military, and there's 2 of them that I know of, and it's crazy. American flags are everywhere, and they have speakers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. I won't have the kids on Memorial Day. They'll be with their mom on Memorial Day. So I'm not sure if that may be something you may or may not want to do. You'll let me know once we're off here. But they're pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. They
Nice.
normally have a little band that plays and somebody that speaks and gives a little prayer and that kind of stuff. But it's pretty moving.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Just on the dog note, I'm sorry. I know this is a devotional, but I often have a lot of dog references, but I've heard that shelters are full again because people who got puppies at the start of the pandemic are now surrendering them.
I
Yeah.
surrendered mine, but I surrendered it to a loving home.
And that was the best for the dog, though. That was really
Yes.
the best for the dog. And that's why I don't have a dog. People ask me all the time. They said, you spent 31 years as a dog trainer. You train dogs all over the world. You do all this stuff. What kind of dog do you have? I go, I don't have one. And they go, what? And they kind of look at me, why don't you have a dog? I said, I don't have time for a dog. I said, I would be a hypocrite, right? Just that I'm telling people that they're responsible for their dog, that the dogs are a part of the family and that kind of stuff. If I had a dog, our dog would not be part of our family because we move around, we do things, we're constantly gone. I'm traveling all the time. I only have the kids 50% of the time. So when I'm not here, nobody can take care of the dog. And so my philosophy was not to have a dog because I'm one of the people that I warn other people. If you're going to be traveling around and not being able to be with a dog and spend a good portion of your day with the dog, then you probably shouldn't have one. And that's kind of our life because we do like to get out. As you can see, some of you that watch our Facebook, that we're not home a lot. That's one of those things. All right. Where were we going with the devotion? Let's get back to the devotion a little bit. Is there anything else about this devotion? It's pretty simple for the most part.
Simple, but yet I think something we each need to meditate upon.
Yeah.
Like, how close are we in our walk with the Lord that the questions are alleviated?
Mm-hmm.
To tell you the truth, I don't really, the questioning part is not, it's not at the forefront of my mind with the Lord, because I feel like that part, I've kind of gotten a rhythm with him.
Yep.
I'm more concerned about, as I said, like witnessing his glory in me, meaning like I want to manifest the things that are in my heart. I feel like there's so much in my flesh that still is in the way of me being able to manifest him. That's where I'm hyper focused.
Yeah. And I just dawned on me with what you just said just now too. I think it is that what it dawned on me is that I really, and I'm sorry, Oswald, I know that you may be listening too. I have no interest in this devotional. I'm just going to come right out and tell you, I don't want to. I want to ask my father questions. I want to be that kid and says, why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why am I here? Why have you gifted me with Hedia Miramati? Why am I so fortunate? Why do I have the great children that I have? All 6 of our kids. We're so blessed. I don't want to stop asking. So I'm sorry.
Me either.
I'm sorry, Oswald.
This wasn't bust, Oswald.
Yeah, I don't like this one. Yeah, and here I was and I'm so happy I came out with it because I was just like going, I don't know. It's not. I'm not connecting with this one. And I've connected with a lot of them. So just know that, Oswald. I have connected with a lot of your devotionals, but I have no interest in this one whatsoever. I don't.
I don't agree with him. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
We just don't agree that, again, I'd like to preface that by saying, if he meant we shouldn't worry about the answers to the questions, I hear him. I get it. But if he says we should just stop asking literally, I mean, he did recite the verse, right? Yep. In that day, you will ask if you will no longer ask me anything because the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. But that implies, and the whole chapter, that whole section implies you will have the fullness of Christ in you and will be content. So it's not this asking like, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? As opposed to the whys of the world and his knowledge and his majesty and where does this all go and when is the rapture and all of those other like beautiful theological questions. That's not what 1623, John 16:23 is referring to, I think.
Yeah. Maybe also the saying to trust God and not question him, but it's okay to ask God questions.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to take it with that.
Yes.
That definition, in your definition. It helped clarify. Again, I think I've reminded people of this some time ago, maybe about 3 or 4 months, not even that long ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, where I said, remember, this was written in old, and he's English, right? He's from the UK, and he writes in a different way than what we're used to. And sometimes it comes off a little bit different, I think.
It's one man's opinion.
Yeah.
That's why we don't have priests. I mean, that's why we don't have intercessors. We only have one royal high priest. And so everything is subject to interpretation. We shouldn't be arrogant and think we know better than learned scholars, but sometimes things just don't make sense.
Yep. And I like the fact that it causes us to think about it and talk about it. So that I do like about the devotional. Yeah. It's just that I'm just telling you that it's just not
your favorite.
I'm going to be a child. No, not my favorite. I want to address Lisa's comment, and this is an important one. And I have addressed this often with people. It says I could never figure out people who can think dogs are disposable. They're not disposable. No. And there are, listen, I've been doing this for 30 some odd years, almost 40 years now, dealing with dogs. I didn't actually do it professionally, but about maybe 30 years ago. But I've seen a lot, and I've been around police dog handlers who've worked closely with dogs on a daily basis, never connect with their dogs, and cannot wait to get out so they can get rid of their dog. And that seems odd to people. People say, well, how is that possible? And I understand what Lisa's saying here too. But for the most part, what I've talked about people when it comes to where I see there's not a match, and I've seen this happen. I'm not sure, at least I don't remember. I don't know if you're a dog trainer or not, but Amy, maybe you could answer this too. I have seen canine handlers and I've seen people, have pet dogs, and they come to me and they say, I love this dog, but I hate this dog, or I hate this dog and I hate this dog. I've had that too. And I look at the situation, and it could be like an example. I had this 60 to 70-year-old couple, and they had what's called a Belgian Malinois, which is a police dog. It's a high-energy dog that will destroy you in a heartbeat. There's some pretty mild-mannered ones that you can run into, but for the most part, Malinois are not for people that are of that age and have no experience with dogs. They will tear them apart. Of course, the woman, it comes to me and she's got injuries all over her arm from the dog biting her and scratching her and that kind of stuff. And she goes, I love this dog, but he's killing me. He's destroying me. And I look at it, I go, why? And it's a puppy. And they had just had it for a couple. I go, why did you get a Belgian Malinois? And of course, they saw a movie or they knew somebody that had one, and that one happened to be mild-mannered. But again, for the most part, they're not known for being mild and mannered. Wow. And so in that case, I talk to people about maybe this isn't the dog for you. I know that you've got this dog. I know you've made a little bit of a commitment to this dog, but one or both of you are going to get hurt, right? At some point, it's just not healthy for either one of you. It's kind of like a relationship where, a counselor or somebody may have to say, you know what? You two don't belong together. It's time for you to part ways. And Amy, Maligators. Yeah, that's the other name for Malinois. I think we call them Maligators. That is because they're crazy. But this could happen in other ways. I've seen people that are very active, and they get something like a Basset Hound, for instance, which is a very, it's just a dog that kind of lays there, and they want to take the dog jogging. I go, that dog has like this short and a belly this round. I go, why? That dog doesn't want to jog. You're going to kill that dog. So I wanted to make sure and address this, because there are times that you just need to part ways, and you need to find somebody for the dog to go to. The dog will be happier, and the human being will be happier. That's just the way you have to look at it sometimes. Sometimes it's not a connection. You expected a certain thing and you didn't get that. It's like dating on online, right? Their picture looks great. What they wrote in there looks fantastic. Oh my God, that's my soulmate. And then you get together and go, no, you're crazy. And you don't look anything like your picture. All right. So
and
I hope
you're not my kind of crazy, because I think everybody's a little crazy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think it's just like, you're just not the kind of crazy I can deal with. You know, like it's looking at somebody's bag of tricks and being like, I think I can carry that bag of tricks, and others are just no. I mean, that was my experience with the dog, is that, like Amy says, that it's important that a dog is the right fit for its person and family. There's absolutely no shame in cutting loose and placing the dog with another person who is a better match. Thank you, Amy. Because that's exactly what I felt, is that me and my daughter had never had a dog. I had one when I was a kid, but it wasn't my dog, and my brother's dog, and my mom took care of it. And we both realized we're just not dog people. And I just kept telling my daughter, I feel so sorry for the dog because no one's interacting with it. And so I just wanted it to go to a loving home where people would interact with the dog so she wouldn't be lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. The dog, I'm sure that dog is ecstatic and happy. Not that you weren't, and not a good, I love you and you're amazing. But again, I know better than to have a dog myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many books on dogs. I mean, 5 books on dogs, and I do podcasts, and I've done TV shows, and I don't have a dog. Why? Because I know that the dog would not be happy with us because we're not around, and he doesn't, he wouldn't, or he or she wouldn't have the attention that the dog would deserve.
Yeah.
Son, come here. Yes.
Guys,
Here's Bo.
guys,
Can you do what?
can I use a saw?
Can what?
Can I use a saw?
Can you use a saw?
Yes,
A power saw or like a hand saw?
a hand saw.
Yes, when I'm done, and I'll show you how to use it, and we'll use it together safely.
I think I already know how to use it.
Well, let me just make sure. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. You smell. Oh, I love him. I don't know what he's building outside, but he needs to use a saw. What happened to the lab? Which lab?
The last lab, we think that the pest guy let him out.
Yeah, the pest guy let him out. Yeah, that's a mystery. That dog was a bed bug detection dog waiting to be used as a bed bug detection dog by some handler, and was in line waiting just for somebody to who needed a bed bug detection dog. But the gardener, the gardener's been fired, and so I have a new gardener that knows how to shut the gates. I was out of town, came back, and the gate was open, and the dog was gone. But I don't know. I don't know what happened to the dog. I've searched for it. We did everything. We did all the online stuff. People like to criticize Trump for not having a dog, but look what happened with Biden's dogs. Right. Way to go, Amy. I didn't. That's a really, I need to use that. I need to borrow that. Yeah, me too. The kids love that dog too. It's one of those dogs, because I'm in the business of buying dogs, training dogs, and then selling the dogs. And every so often they were getting attached to a dog. And I always warned them. I said, these dogs aren't going to stay here. The dog's going to leave. But they sure love that dog. I think they would have been happy if that dog never found an owner that needed a bed bug detection dog. But yeah, they were sad. My daughter still talks, or is it? They all still talk about that dog. She was pretty sweet. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks, that this one was a little bit of a dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded about this one. I just could not wrap my mind around this particular devotional. But I think I just decided that that's how I felt about it, how I told you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Eddie?
No, that's it for me.
Good. We talked about dogs. We talked about Mark. Oh, you were going to say something that you were surprised about this one, the video. I forgot what it was.
Oh, then you use the clip where Mark talks about allowing his kids to watch things and using them as a teaching moment. And they weren't naive Christians. They were wise Christians. Just because I haven't noticed that to be much of your philosophy. It's more like, no, I don't want them to see it. And I know they may see it somewhere else, but I don't want them seeing it around me.
Oh, there's a line. I just have the line that I have no problem talking about stuff. Kelly stops videos constantly, but we stop videos from time to time. But yeah, my line is, with some things. The cussing, I don't like all the cussing. I don't like all the sexual references and that kind of stuff. And I don't like it. I don't like there's every show has a gay relationship, and it just, I don't know. I get irritated by too much of it. Why does every show have to have a gay relationship now?
Yes.
I don't mind gay people. They're welcome in my house anytime, and we can talk and share and that kind of stuff. But why does every show have to have a makeout session like that? And one of our favorite shows was SWAT. Ray and I loved watching SWAT together. And there was one of the people there had a what do they call it? It was like a three-way relationship. She had a relationship with a husband and wife. So it was I forget what they call it. But it was like, and every episode had to include something that was going on with that relationship. And it just was like,
odd.
And that was on ABC, like a regular station. And so, it's not just R necessarily, but it's even just a TV show. Like, why do we have to, I've had the discussion with it. We talk about it, but why every episode? I just get exhausted from it. And then when there's this, when every other word is an F word, I don't like it. So I know I'm not a prude really, obviously. But when it comes to the kids, I think that there's a time for it. So
sure. That's
it. That's all. That's my thing. Wow. Wait, any other topics you want to talk about? I just love that clip from Mark, because when I watched it and then it came to the devotional, it was like two magnets. I couldn't put the two together. One's telling you got to, study and research and read and take your time with it, take months and months and months with a book. And then I read this one, like, you'll just know everything. That's how I thought. And so it really caused me to be confused from what I was reading.
Get it. I can see that now.
Have you all seen the new Kellogg's cereal box? No. I'm guessing what it has to do with. We're gonna next time, Hedia, you and I go shopping, we're gonna go look at the Kellogg's cereal box.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, my friends, this isn't one of our normal shows. This one was kind of all over the place, and I hope that's okay with you. I've learned a lot by going through this, and Hedia, I really appreciate your perspective all the time, because it sure helps me understand. I would have been completely lost without you on this one.
No, thank you.
All right, my friends. Love you guys. Amy, welcome back. Maureen, thanks for joining. And everybody else that joined us and is watching. All right. Love you guys.
Good night.
Good night.
God bless.
God bless.